Design a study in 50 steps, step 19. And honestly, y'all, this is always my if you can only do one thing before you collect data, do this one thing. That is this step. Pilot the data collection tool. What does that mean? That means test it out, do a trial run. Practice using it, but in a way where you can get more feedback on the tool. What does that look like? For an interview, you'd sit down and you'd do a practice interview. You'd ask all the questions you're going to ask when you actually collect the data. But depending on how they respond to your question, you might ask some follow-ups oh, I actually wanted you to think more of this. What could I have said to make that more clear? Or I noticed you said this. If I want you thinking of this, how should I ask this? Or if they seem to have a hard time answering the question, you might be is this confusing? How could I make it more straightforward? So you're doing the interview, but you're doing follow-up questions to make sure you're getting the data you want out of the interview. For a survey, I typically recommend what's called a cognitive lab, a COG lab. You find someone and they take your survey, but they take it by reading it aloud and talking through how they're responding to each question. And in listening to them talk through their process, you'll notice things that are confusing, answer choices that you might be missing, follow-up questions that you should have asked. You get the point, right? If you're doing an observation, you would take your little observation rubric or your big observation rubric out into the field, go to the type of place you want to observe, and spend some time there. Is the observation rubric clear enough that you're able to keep track of what you're seeing? Are there things you're seeing that you're oh, I totally should have put a spot for that in the observation rubric? Of note, in all these situations, I don't want you to actually go do your data collection. So you're not going to the actual place you're going to observe. You're not interviewing the actual people you're going to interview. You're interviewing people going to a place that is similar, but not the exact one. That matters because you don't want to bias your data. If you interview a person for your practice and then you interview them again for your study, the answers you get for your study are not going to be as authentic because they've already answered the questions before. So find people or place, whatever it is, similar to what you want for your study and go pilot your data collection tool.